I'm Nick Walter, and I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial here teaching you how to add search into your app. So how you can integrate search with a table view to kind of filter results. So what we're going to be making is right here, very simple app where we just list the name of some dogs, and if you click on the search, you can say I want dogs that have an A in their name. Okay, Sean and April show up. Or if you want an I, then okay, Fido and April showed up. And if I just start typing April, you'll see that April shows up. So very simple example, but definitely a cool thing to add to your app that will make your users like your app a little bit more. So we're going to go dive in and learn how to do this. So if you heard me talking about table views and stuff and you're like, ooh, I don't really know what that is, this tutorial assumes that you have some programming knowledge with iPhone apps. So if you have zero experience with that or you kind of feel a little bit behind, I have a class that teaches how to make iPhone apps, and if you go to iOS9class.com, iOS9class.com, I have this course that just kind of gets you up to speed. We walk through a ton of different apps, but if you'd like to take that, there it is. And because you're watching this tutorial, if you do redeem a coupon and type search, you will get a discount. So you can see, poof, just got 81% off. But that's if you don't have any programming knowledge. So for the rest of this, I'm assuming you have some programming experience. You know what table views are. And so with that, let's go ahead and rock and roll. I already have the completed project up here, so I'm going to X out of that and start fresh so that we can see the whole process. So let's do create a new Xcode project. We want single view application. And let's call this dog search. You can name yours whatever you want, but I'm going to do dog search. Swift, we definitely want that. Universal, doesn't really matter. I just did the name of my website backwards for this. We don't need core data or any of these unit tests or anything. So with that, we'll just hit next, and I'll save mine to the desktop. And I always like to do this when I start a new project. I just like to hit play to make sure things are working. So just want to see that at least the app will show up and show that white screen. So let's see what we get here. There's our simulator, and there's our blank app. Great. All right, so everything's working. Let's talk about what we need. So by default, Xcode gives us this plain old storyboard with a very plain old vanilla view controller. So we actually want to get rid of this. So just select this guy, delete, and let's get rid of this view controller file that it made for us too. We're going to say move to trash. We really want to get rid of it. Then we're going to go back to the storyboard and we're going to add a table view controller. Now, if you've ever taken a class from me or know me, you know that I hate table view controllers. And what is a table view controller? It's essentially a view controller with a table view baked into it. And I always advocate for just make a view controller and put inside a table view inside of there. And that's because so many times what you're going to want to do with that view controller changes, and it's just so much more flexible if you have a view controller with a table view in it. Now, the only exception that I have is that when you want to add search to it and you have a table view that's pretty straightforward, just use the table view controller, because Apple has made it very streamlined and easy to add search to this, and to do it on your own requires a lot of legwork. So this is the one time that I'm going against my very passionate view that you should never use table view controllers. Okay, this is the one instance that I think it's okay. So here we have our table view controller. We got to make sure we click this is initial view controller, right, so that it knows where to start, because we deleted the last one with an arrow. So again, just if that's not showing up for you, click on the table view controller, then go to this little arrow thing and make sure that's checked. Okay, so now that we have this here, this is the essentially the storyboard version of it. We need to make the code version of it over here. So we're going to do new file, right click on that, do new file. We want on iOS source Cocoa Touch class, subclass of a UI table view controller. I know this sounds like blasphemy, right? We're going to call this dog table view controller. It's in Swift, looks good. We'll hit next. And we'll just go ahead and save that into the project. I'm going to move it up here by my storyboard. And then let's go back to the storyboard and then click on this table view controller go to this little newspaper thing and say the class that this thing is, right, the thing that's connected with, it's a dog table view controller. Okay, hit tab, that auto-completes, we're good to go. So we do want to have somewhat of a header up here, and you know, we won't go into detail on this one of making the app like once you click on a dog it could show some more info, but generally that's what you want. So we're going to make sure this is in a navigation controller, and this is kind of a cool thing if you haven't seen this trick. If you select a view controller and then go to editor, embed in navigation controller, it goes ahead and just pops it right into one, does, you know, this whole root view controller thing for you. I think that's pretty neat. So let's hit play and just make sure that we can see our little table view here inside of the navigation controller, and there it is. Let's make sure we give a name for this, so we're going to double tap this and just type dogs in here. Let's hit run, make sure that's looking right. Ooh, beautiful. Okay, so all of that is good. Let's make it so we can at least have some dogs show up inside of this table view controller. So you'll notice when you make a table view controller, Apple likes to give you about 1 million things, which is nice, but we want to get rid of some of it. So I'm just going to get rid of all these commented items. Did receive memory warning, we don't need that. Sections in a table view, we're not even going to mess with that. We will use the self-wrote index path, so let's uncomment this by taking out those stars. We don't need to be doing editing. Yeah, I don't think we need any of this stuff, so we're just going to go ahead and delete all of that. So now that we have this, let's go ahead up here and make an array of dogs that we want to put inside of this table view. So we're going to say var dogs is equal to just an array of strings. So I'm going to say maybe like Sean, comma, let's do some more, Fido, let's do some more, April, let's keep going. We have Hoku as a dog. We can have Laura as a dog. Maybe let's have Matt, and let's do one more, Bo. That really sounds like a dog's name right there, Bo. So anyways, now we have this array of dogs. So for how many rows do we want in our table view? We're going to say self.dogs.count. That's how many we want. Get rid of this warning thing. And then for what we want to return in the cell, we're just going to say, let's make a new cell. That's just a regular plain old table view cell. And that cell's text label.text is going to be equal to self.dogs, and we want the one at indexPath.row. So hopefully what I've done here isn't too confusing for you. If you've had some experience, what do? We have a table view that shows an array of dogs, right? Saying there's going to be this many, and at each cell, this is how many, or at each cell, this is what we want to show. We want to show the dog's name. So let's hit play, just make sure this is working. Where's our simulator? Ah, there we go. Looks excellent. And I'm going to switch this from a 6 Plus just to a regular iPhone 6. So excellent. Now that we have this up and rolling, we're getting close to adding in search, and it's kind of amazing how easy Apple has made this. Again, this is the one reason that I say you should use the table view controller instead of just a view controller with a table view in it. So the first thing that we need to do is, and it's interesting, we don't do anything inside of the storyboard here to add search. It's all done programmatically, which I don't know, seemed a little bit interesting to me. I thought Apple would, you know, do that some other way, but it's how they decided to do things. So what we're going to do is up here as a property, we're going to make something called a search controller. So Apple has made a class called UISearchController that helps us do search on a table view controller. So I'm just going to say var search controller is equal to, or is not equal to, is a type of UI search controller, We'll just do an exclamation point after that saying, hey, you know, we don't have it now, but we promise that we will whenever we need it. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and try and create it. So inside of the viewDidLoad, we're going to say self.searchController is equal to a new UISearchController. And when we do the parentheses, we have all sorts of options here. And what we want is this one that starts with a search results controller. So the way that this UISearchController works is when the user types something into the search bar that will be up here, it will replace this table view, in fact this whole view controller, with a brand new like other view controller that you have. So we just want to use another table view controller, but we have to pass it one. So before we can do this, we have to come back here and say, okay, we're going to have var results controller is going to be equal to just a generic UI table view controller. Okay. So if you want to, you can make your own custom class and do that, but I'm just going to use a generic one because we really don't need anything more than that. So now that we have that, we can just pass into here self.resultsController. Okay, so this is good. We now have this search controller. That's all fine. The next thing that we want to do is have this search controller actually show up. So again, I think this is weird that we do this programmatically, but it's not a big deal. So we're going to say self.TableView table header view is equal to self.searchController.searchBar. So essentially what we said here is we want this table view's header, which we can't see it now because we haven't defined one, we want its header to be equal to the search controller's search bar. So even with just these two lines, let's go ahead and hit play and see what our app looks like now. Ta-da! Look, we have this cool thing, and when we click in here, you can see now it kind of has grayed everything out and it's gone up here, and we have the cancel button that moves things. So this is that big reason why I suggest using the table view controllers, because with essentially, you know, we made two properties here and added 2 lines of code. We have this search bar that now we can type stuff into, and it has like a cancel bar, and it like moves, does all this animation. We did that with 4 lines of code. Like if you went back to the storyboard and dragged out, you know, a search text thing here and add, you know, the search label in there, and when you click in it, it moves up there and moves these things down, like it would be a headache and take forever. So this is the one reason I do suggest this is the time to use the table view controller. So we have all of this, but you'll notice when we search, well, nothing shows up, and you're like, oh, that stinks. Well, let's talk about how we can fix that. And the main thing that we need to look at is, so whenever someone types something into the search bar, the user goes and types something here, the search bar will let you know about, you know, hey, something's changed, you should update what the search results are. And it does that by using something called a search results updater. So below here we're going to say self.searchController.search results updater is equal to self. So this is kind of like a delegate thing, just like, you know, table view data source delegate. So you'll notice as we do this, and if we tried to build our project, it's going to fail, and that's because we need to say, all right, this UI table view controller is also a UI search results updating. Okay, so you'll see now that we do that, and if we tried to do a build, well, it's going to complain now. And if I love this about Xcode, you go to the warnings if you've said something follows some sort of protocol, and it says, hey, you're not, protocol requires function update search results for search controller. So I know I have to now add this specific function. So we're going to come down here and say update search results for search controller. Okay, and if we hit build now, you can see everything succeeds. And this function right here, this is where the magic happens. So this is the function that gets called every time someone types something into here. And essentially what we have to do in here is we have to filter through the dogs, and then we have to update the results table view. So what do I mean by filter through the dogs? This means we need to take whatever the user has entered into the search and filter through our dogs and say, okay, which dogs match the criteria that is in the search, right? So if someone types the letter A, we're going to say, okay, Sean has an A, Fido doesn't, April does, Hoku doesn't, Laura does, Matt does, and Bo does. Okay, a lot of dogs with an A in here. But if someone types in the letter F, won't be with Sean, will be with Fido, but not here, not here, not here, not here, not here. So this is where we kind of got to do that magic of saying, all right, if they've returned something, or if it matches, we need to do something with it. Okay, and we're going to do something really cool in Swift called filter, which is nice. I think the name's very descriptive. It helps you filter through an array. So we're going to say self dot dogs dot filter. And see if we filter, it has this thing for us. If we hit enter on that, it will kind of update this for us. And we're going to, as the parameter, say dog, which is a string, okay, capital string. And you'll see it needs to return bool. So what's going on here? Well, essentially this filter is it runs through each item in the array, and we need to either say return true if we want this thing to be contained in the results, or false if it doesn't. So I'm just going to show like a very basic example here. I'm just going to say return true, and this means it's going to go through each dog in the array and return true, which means it should be included in the filtered results. So and to see this, we've still got to do a little bit of work to get this to show up, and so we're going to go through that now, but you'll see how cool this filter function is. So this filter function returns back an array, so we need to make an array for the filtered results. So we're going to say var filtered dogs is equal to an array of strings that is empty. Okay, so we're going to say self dot filtered dogs is equal to whatever this filter thing does. And to update the results of the table view, this one's really easy. We just say self.resultsController.TableView.reload data. So remember, we have this results controller that whenever someone searches, instead of showing this regular table view, we show this results controller's table view, and we want to reload that data. So this all looks good, and if we go ahead and hit play here on our app, and because we're returning true on everything, we should just see all the dogs in there. Well, you notice if we do a search and start typing, we don't see anything. And that's because we haven't said for this results controller where that results controller table view should look for information, like its data source and delegate. So what we need to do is come down here and say self.resultsController.TableView.dataSource is equal to self. And also self.resultsController.TableView.delegate is equal to self. Okay, so that looks fine, and we'll go ahead and we'll hit play on here, type something in, and you can see, oh good, here's all the dogs. That's excellent. Okay, so even with just a little bit of code, we're at least working here. So now let's go back to this filtered thing and talk about what we want to do rather than just returning true for everything. We want it to actually only return true if what the person put into search is equal to that specific dog. So there's a great function for strings that tells us if there's a string inside of another string. So what we're going to say is if dog dot contain string, okay, and the thing that we want to check is self dot search controller dot search bar dot text. Okay, so we're going to say if it contains that, we want to return true, and if not, else, we want to return false. Okay, so let's just go ahead and hit play on this. Oh, you got to spell return right, and see what we got here. Oh, forgot to do our capital or exclamation point here because that's an optional. Okay, so build succeeded. This should now, take into account if there's a certain letter in there, but you'll notice as we type, it still is returning everything. Now that's not this filters issue, that is a data source and delegate issue. Now, I just want you to kind of step back here for a second and think about this. This is a table view controller which has built into it a table view, right? We also made this results controller, which is a UITableViewController that has its own table view, and we said that table view should look here for both its data source and its delegate. So these two functions right here, it's passing back the information for both the results controller and this table view controller's table view, right? It's doing the work for both of them. So we need to kind of specify in here which one we're talking about. Because if we're talking about this results controller, we want to put back the stuff that's in the FilteredDogs array, not the just regular dogs array. So I'll show you how we can do that. We'll just come down here. So for the number of rows, we're going to say if table view, right, which is the table view that's passed into this function, is equal to self.tableview. Then go return the regular, dog array. But else, if that's not the case, we want to return self.filtereddogs.count. Okay? And let's tab this in so it looks all nice. So, and we want to do a similar thing here when we're talking about, what to put inside of the actual text here. So we're going to say if table view is equal to self.tableview. We're just going to do the regular old thing here, but else, and I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. We just want to change, rather than doing self.dogs, self.filtereddogs. Okay, tab that over. Oops, got to do 2 equal sign here, not 1. Let's hit build, make sure that works. Okay, now let's hit play and make sure our app is running like we'd like it to. So we hit play, here they come, and so you notice if we go ahead and type A, ta-da! All the dogs with A in their name pop up, and if we delete this, go back to something like, for example, the letter T, oh, Matt shows up. If we go for H, whoa, what's happening here? You'll notice, look, we have Hoku, but if we type an H, it doesn't show up. Same if we go for S, it doesn't show up. Well, that's because this is a capital H and we typed a lowercase, and if we do the capital S, Sean will show up, or capital H, Hoku will show up. That's not what we want. So to fix this issue, it's very simple. We're just going to come to this filter here, and we're just going to turn everything to lowercase. So we're going to take the stuff that's in the search results, and we're going to make it a lowercase, right? So just do dot lowercase string. And the same goes for this dog. We're going to do dog dot lowercase string, just like that. So now that we've done that, go ahead and hit play here. You'll see now if we type the letter S, Sean shows up. If we do capital S, still shows up. So if we do capital A, all these things show up, even though this one's lowercase, that one's upper. Same if we do lowercase a. This is really more of what we were looking for. So that's all good, but you'll notice a few things are a little bit funky. So the first one is I don't like that when I hit search, everything is kind of grayed out in the background here. And if you want to change that, it's very simple. You just go ahead and say self.searchController, okay, .dims background during presentation, and you set this one equal to false. Okay, so again, this is just total style preference up to you, but I think this looks a lot better. You'll notice now that we hit this to false, when we click in here for search, this becomes lighted up, and we can still, tap on these things if we want to. And as we search, these things show up, but I don't really like the grayed out thing. So I think that's definitely a good thing to use there. So the other thing I want to talk about is, you'll notice as we search something, right, like, because right now when we show everything, it's all in line, no weird stuff. But if I search the letter A, there's this weird white space. And I'll be completely honest, I don't get everything behind this, but you have to do this: defines presentation context is equal to true. Somehow by doing this, this passes through to this results controller that, hey, you shouldn't have a space here because it's inside of a navigation controller. I don't know, there's a lot of things going on, but if you change that, you notice now if we hit A or something, it's nice clean look, just like we were hoping for. So really, that's it. I mean, obviously there's so much more you could do here. You'd want to have the function table view did select row at index path. Where is this puppy? Right, so that when they actually click on one of these rows, we could show some more info about the dog, because if you have a search, it's probably because the user wants to know more information about something in there. Also, there's a lot of other cool things you can do to make your searching really advanced. Because all we've done here is we just had an array of strings, and we just check, hey, is the thing that they typed in contain that string? But if you had an actual dog class with properties like name, fur color, weight, I don't know, paw size, something like that, if you could have the user search something like, if they start typing the word brown, it will bring up all the dogs that have brown fur. Or there's just some really cool things that you can do with the searching, because this function here, it's completely up to you about when someone types something into the search box, how you take that text and then return back a list of things. So you can make that really custom and have whatever kind of spin you want there. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you have any questions or would just like to chat, go ahead and say something in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the search. Again, this is just a quick intro into it. You can get way more advanced than this, but hopefully you've seen this is fairly simple stuff. So thanks for watching.